Our life has always been linked to energy, or rather, to the capacity of using energy starting from the fire. Far back in the history, humankind has been aware of the fire, since spontaneous events used to occur in the forests, close to their huts. Only once we have learned how to manage it, our life has changed. We have learned how to preserve food and protect ourselves from the cold nights. As a consequence, humankind has gained time to do other things in addition to struggling for the daily subsistence. We have acquired other capacities. We have learned how to use stone and wood to produce craftworks, and we have started writing on the walls of our caverns, finally giving birth to the philosophical and rational thinking, which is at the base of our development as human beings and society. So energy matters for all of us. We are now experiencing a dichotomy in the issue of energy. Indeed, from one side, if we don't learn how to decrease and properly manage the use of energy, reduce waste and pollution, no sustainable development may be achieved. From the other, if we reduce dramatically our resource use and run into shortage of resources, we could put under severe threat our life and society, affecting the most vulnerable categories and regions in the world. To find the right balance on this scale is the holy grail of the energy sector challenge. We do not know how the search will proceed, but in order to prepare our new pathways, some essential elements are to be considered. A new paradigm of energy and resource use needs to include planetary boundaries. So far, economists have paid attention to the psychological roots of what people need and desire, but not enough to the physical roots and implication of our finite world. The overall assumption in any economic model is that the biophysical world is large enough that the physical constraints are not binding. With the rising global concern on resources, this assumption does not hold, and therefore, physical constraints need to lead to a rational use of resources, relying on two thermodynamics laws. The first law deals with the principle of conservation of total energy. If we extend our domain to consider the universe, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be converted from one form to another. The overall quantity of energy which is circulating remains the same. The second law complements this declaration, and it states that in the process of transferring energy from one form to another, a part of its quality is lost. This loss may be kept under control and reduced, but it cannot be brought to zero. So energy is always the same, but the more we use it, the more its quality degrades and becomes useless for our uses. Therefore, we need to manage energy with care, taking into account how energy is interconnected with the three pillars of sustainable development: the environmental, the economic, and the social dimensions. Energy exploitation, conversion, and uses have many consequences on the environment, in terms, first of all, of greenhouse gases and pollutant emissions in the air. The international community is aware of these consequences, and starting from the Kyoto Protocol, many initiatives have been undertaken. Since COP21 in 2015, we have seen the governments of almost all the countries worldwide presenting their nationally determined commitments. Europe is one of the leading regions in the global effort to accelerate the energy transition, and the Green Deal, the Europe Fit for 55 and other initiatives confirms, despite the pandemic emergency and the persisting energy crisis, the strong political will of the member states. Energy is also considered to be a leverage to economic growth. Indeed, if we plot All the countries worldwide, broken down according to the World Bank income classification, with the total primary energy supply on the horizontal axis and the gross national income on the vertical one, we see that, particularly for the weakest economies, there is a linear correlation, which is becoming less pronounced with the increase of the income. This confirms the relevance of the energy supply for the development, especially of the most vulnerable regions. Finally, we can also confirm that energy is also a trigger of social development. Indeed, by keeping on the horizontal axis the energy supply and on the vertical axis the Human Development Index as a measure of the quality of life, we may observe a consistent correlation across the two, which is again stronger for the weakest economies. Despite this relevance, energy is not yet available to all. In developing regions, we still have roughly 800 million people without access to electricity, and still 2.5 million relying on traditional biomass burnt into inefficient and polluting devices, with consequences on pollution, land degradation, and health. Also, in the emerging regions, there is still 1 billion people not having access to a reliable electric grid, with many outages that represent a break to local industrial development. But there is also a 10% of people in developed regions affected by fuel poverty, with consequences on physical and mental health, especially of the most vulnerable, like children and elderly people. Energy should become an instrumental right for all, and within this perspective, the UN system has launched, within the Agenda 2030, the SDG number 7, to ensure access to affordable, sustainable, reliable energy for all. We are now ready to explore the historical trends, the forecast for the future of the sector, keeping in mind the many uncertainties that will determine our energy future.